And we're back now. I ran out of memory. So I went from the external or the SD to the internal, which means this is going to have to be really quick because I have almost no room on the internal drive. Anyway, you're going to take your long part and drape it over the head of your mannequin. Let's make sure you can see that. And the short side is going to fall this way. Now what you're going to do is put that on the side. You're searching for your ear. If it's a little off, it doesn't matter because it's going to be darted and sewn down the way you need it anyway. Now I'm going to put this over here. I need some stabilizer, so one here, one here. Let's make sure you can see that. Yeah. Now you're going to squeeze this part and pin that out your way. Sorry, girlfriend. And then you're going to squeeze this part and pin it towards where you just came from, okay? So you have this one pinned out the way and this one pinned here. You're basically making darts, okay? So we'll just pretend that's a dart. And we're going to go down here, pin that out the way. Now we're going to release this one and put it in play, covering where you just came from, okay? Now, that will give you a crossover that's shaped like the head. And then you do the same thing in the back. You're going to find that little section. It's going to make a shape that's roughly the size of your head. Now this is going to actually be at the neck area. It'll give you some place to hold the wig down while you're putting it on. But when you go to do your first round, when you measure the occipital bone and, you know, put elastic or trim it or whatever, that part's going to be missing. Okay, so now you're going to do the same thing here, because what you're avoiding is having, you see this is real bad for a standard wig head, but since you're using elastic and all that, that will actually stretch. So you'll actually be stretching that down, so just pretend. And you're going to do the same thing you did. And since this is more material to work with, I can actually just freehand it. But usually when you're doing this in small confinement because it's going to represent just you know, where their ear and all that is. But usually you have a bigger head to work with and smaller bits of material, so you don't have this drape. I mean, if I could just drape it all the time, then I would just anchor it down wherever, sew it up, and keep going. And that's not always the way it works out. Okay, so you see how I have this here and this here? Now you're going to take a temporary solution and you just sew your darts, okay? Like that. Well, this doesn't really sew too well because, well, it's a plastic bag. But you would whip stitch your darts in place, like so. Pretend I did that, but you whip stitch this, and then once you get it anchored down, you take it and try it on, because you're only base stitching. If it fits right, or you have to make any adjustments, you make that on the head after you've slicked your hair down, braided down, whatever, to get you the true shape of your head. Now, pretend I did all that, okay? So, it's the right measurements and all that, so now we're going to push those pins in. You're going to put them back on if it's the right size, and you've tacked them down or basted them down or whatever. So then you're going to push those pins in, okay? So that gives you something to work with. Then you're going to take and put your pins where you need them. The only pin you do not move in this whole process or push down will be the one in the very center. This is usually my purple pin, which gives you where the center of the head is. So that way when you start sewing, and when you need to find the center, you know the center is here. So if you're going to make a U part or whatever, this is where the dividing line would be. If not, you push that down or remove it as you get to it and continue on doing around the world or whatever. But that's what we end up with. See that? So basically it's draped right around it. And then when you take it off, because I mean, literally, look a couple of videos back, you see me try it on. Actually, that would be 2 videos back. It actually is called I'm Trying on a Wig. But instead of a marker or a piece of chalk or whatever, I just literally took some thread and basted it where my ears would go. So that way